So now we're going to make the stuffing, and it's wild rice and figs, and we begin with 2 shallots. And shallots have a nice milder flavor than onion. I actually like to use them a lot. So we're just going to do a nice little slice on the shallot here. I like to leave them in bigger pieces because we are doing a stuffing that will have a fairly monochromatic texture. So anything that you can do just to kind of add a little bit of interest in the texture department is always nice, I think. So we have our shallots here, and we're going to just start up the heat on our cast iron pan. There's about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. It depends on really your preference. And certainly you can reduce some of the fat content in this recipe, but the fat does carry flavor, and we really want a nice flavorful main dish for Thanksgiving. So just going to try to coat the shallots nicely in olive oil here. Get them nice and covered so they will cook up. Spread them out. We'll let those go while we get the garlic ready. And again, you just want to crush it. Use the flat of your hand. Just press right down on it. It's kind of fun to let off a little energy with that. And you can just load up your knife, have it right ready to drop in the pan. I'm starting to get a little color on these. It doesn't take too long. Shallots cook. If you're used to cooking with onions, they do cook a little faster. You can see the colors coming up on those already. And we just want to wait until they're more or less evenly colored here. We have some that are still quite white. Just want to stir it around, make sure that you're getting heat distributed to all of them. They're starting to get a little translucent. That means they're also getting a little softer for us. And once you have kind of a golden brown, just getting a little gold there, you can add the garlic. So if your pan's nice and hot, you'll start to get some crisp bits. Don't worry about things crisping up. Actually, that's a really tasty thing to happen here. You just want to make sure you're not leaving anything to sit and blacken. This is a really beautiful toast we have going here. So we're just going to add the diced celery. This is 2 ribs of celery and a nice even dice on that. You don't have to cook it until it's mushy and totally textureless here. Just a little bit, kind of get it coated with all of this olive oil, all the flavor here. Just give it about a minute to kind of take in some of that. And then we're going to add actually the star really ingredient of this dish, which are the figs. These are dried figs. Fresh figs are pretty universally recognized for their beauty. I mean, they're really gorgeous. They have these great insides with all the tiny seeds and beautiful skins. And come in lots of different colors too. Dried figs are, as you can see, much less beautiful, but no less flavorful. Actually, they're more flavorful. They're really intense. Like all dried fruit, they intensify the flavor as they dry. This is a mix of figs, and it's just because the flavors are slightly different. You can use all the same fig. You can use as many different kinds of fig that you like. This is black mission and a Turkish brown fig, and they're all diced here, so just add those in. This gives us a sweetness, it's just a kind of beautiful texture with the little seeds. A great flavor that complements all of these savory things really nicely in a way that is kind of unexpected. And once that's going, kind of coated in olive oil, you're just going to take a wild rice. This is a wild rice and brown rice mix. I find that too much of a wild rice is kind of hard and grainy, so you want to break that up with some brown rice. So this is 1.5 cups of mixed wild and brown rice. And you can find pre-made mixes in a store. Any wild rice mix will do. And we cook that with 3 cups of water. You can take it straight from your rice cooker or your pot into this, or you can make it ahead of time. It's nice to have everything made ahead of time, and you can just kind of go straight from go with making your recipe, putting everything together here. Once you get the rice in, you might find that the heat is a little bit high for it because the rice is taking up some of that olive oil that is makes it so that things don't stick to our pan. We're going to add to this a cup of fresh breadcrumbs. You can grab those from your store, and a 1/4 cup of the almond meal again. So if you're making this as a gluten-free stuffing, obviously you won't want to include the breadcrumbs here. So you could use more of the almond meal to kind of get the same texture. And of course you won't want to put that in a seitan roll, but it's really a fantastic thing for a stuffed pumpkin or a stuffed squash, something like that. And what the breadcrumbs are doing for us here is sort of going to bind everything together once we get a little liquid in there. So we want the stuffing to have some ability to stick together here. But almond flour will do that trick, or any flour that you like. A rice flour could work here just as easily. So just put in about 1/2 cup of broth. That's a good place to start with the broth. But you may find that you need more liquid. So it looks like here we still have some breadcrumbs that you can see that are a little dry on the edges. So we'll probably want to add a little bit more vegetable stock or water. But this is the kind of consistency we're looking for, something that holds together a bit. And then we just want to do a little bit of seasoning. So probably a good handful of chopped curly parsley or flat, whichever you have. And some fresh pepper, fresh black pepper. So just mix in that parsley and the pepper and a little bit of sea salt. Once we get that all mixed in, we're all set with the stuffing. All right, so this is the seitan that we have cooked. And we're just gonna peel back the cheesecloth and see what we've got. So you can see our dough really firmed up as it cooked. And now it is pretty sturdy. So what we're gonna do is just bring our stuffing over. I'm gonna let that cool so that you're not burning yourself. And then just kind of scoop up the stuffing. You don't want to get too crazy with it because we do have to roll this back up. So we're looking at about 1/2 inch of stuffing. And that will really fill out this roll. It'll look pretty serious. But that's what we want. We want a serious main dish on the table. So at this point, we're just going to start at the end furthest away from us and kind of start to roll up gently. And the seitan, it should be firm enough to hold as you roll. It could break, don't worry, it will be okay. As you go, you can just press some stuff back into the sides. Probably want to take some off the ends so you have a little bit of a lip. That is a good thing to remember. So you can fuss with your cheesecloth that you used originally, or you can just set that aside, wash it for later. You can get a lot of use out of cheesecloth. We'll just start fresh so that we're not wrangling cheesecloth all day here. Again, you want that double thickness. And just kind of drape it over like mosquito netting. Kind of fix it here so that you are double layered throughout. And this just helps hold it together. Seitan, this wheat gluten, is going to want to expand. And to some extent, we want it to take on a little bit of water or a little bit of liquid, but we don't want it to get crazy huge and fill up the whole pot, which, if left to its own devices, it would do. And you can also take a little bit of kitchen twine. Just sort of loosely measure it here so that you know you have a lot of room. So you're not tying it super tight. And this will just hold the cheesecloth together. It'll hold the roll together as it expands. That's kind of pretty. It's got a little bit of a rustic quality. It's not every day a vegan gets to hog tie something. So then we have our roll ready to go in the oven. So just kind of settle it in among the vegetables. You want to pull some of the vegetables out from underneath it. You can leave a few there. They're just going to kind of bake and give lots of flavor. This is really a good level for the liquid. And just nestle all those around here. So then we're going to cover it back up. The nice tight-fitting lid, and put it in oven 350 for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So here we are. We have our fully cooked seitan roll, and as you can see, as it's cooked here, it's really expanded a good deal, and it's kind of pressing against the cheesecloth and all of that. We left a good bit of wiggle room with the twine here, and that's mostly disappeared now. So when you take it out, you want to let it cool a little bit. All of this liquid will be boiling, and there'll be a lot of steam, and it's quite heavy at this point too, so you want to be careful. And use something large to support it because it is, as I said, very heavy. So here's our roll, and we can just cut it straight out of here. And the cheesecloth has helped everything stay pressed together. So as it's cooked, it's really cooked in as a nice, fairly solid piece here. So it should all just stay together quite nicely on the plate. Start to just wiggle this out from underneath. You can put anything on the plate here, it's all good. I really like to make sure I'm definitely getting the parsnips and the carrots to plate along with this. Another great thing you can do with this stuff is just pop it into the food processor, give a little bit of the stock that's here, and thin it out into a gravy that is good to serve with any of your sides, like a mashed potato. That would go really well with this as well. The first slice is probably going to give you a little more stuffing than seitan, so you can kind of compensate for that. Take that off if you want to, or you can serve it to someone who maybe is really into stuffing. But you just give like maybe a ½ inch slice, and it should just cut up nicely with all that beautiful rice stuffing right inside.